Miari. I'm the Hat Mouse, and today we'll be doing an honest review of D&D's GenCon 2026 and 2027 roadmap. I'll be ignoring the celebrities and personalities in charge of each segment, unless that is part of the importance, such as with the announced D&D Icons series of products. Um, Also, the typical nostalgia and a crowd or slash cult think verbiage will be ignored to get a good reading of what's to come, and if I think it'll do well, or whether it's, as some people have said, the death of D&D. The first promise is to return to Gen Con, and yearly roadmaps to be released for the next year's products. If they follow through, it will reduce impulse buying and allow people to plan more readily with new yeah, it will allow people to plan more readily which new products are worth getting. This is against the current TTRPG marketing philosophy, where a significant percentage of new releases are produced through limited time crowdfunding. Uh, like Neon Odyssey may not have made so much out the gate if you knew you had ample time to get all the products, or if they had a launch sale with the same discounts as opposed to a limited window for some things. The second promise is D&D Icons, a series of products focused around old settings being reborn in the hands of the original creators. Among them, we have Greyhawk coming back by Luke Gygax, who claims it never left, and that the mechanics and sort of flavor of each D&D race and class has been Greyhawk from the beginning. Um, Another point he brings up is that it'll be the first time the Gygax name has been on an official product in quite a long time. I'm not old enough to really care that Gygax is back on an official product as a name. Uh, I, Maybe that's just my youngin' brain talking, but yeah, I don't think a name can carry as much weight as a good product, or at least shouldn't. Next, we have Dragonlance by Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman. Margaret was absent from the panel, but and even though we got Dragonlance a couple years ago in Shadows of the Dragon Queen, this is a promise to go back into the source material from the creators and get a better read on what made Dragonlance Dragonlance. Next, we have Death Saves by Joe Manganiello. Death Saves is a new world, but it will be inspired both by how the Satanic Panic affected early D&D and the Dark Sun art of classic D&D artist Brahm. Um, and they apparently did a playtest sometime over the weekend that may or may not have garnered more interest towards it, but with it being kept vague for said playtest, there's not really a lot to talk on because there's just not a lot of information. And finally, we have Salvatore returning to write more Forgotten Realms books, specifically focusing on Drist's adventures. Outside of Icons, we're heading back to Greyhawk again in an adventure, Crown of the Witch Queen, a full-length adventure exploring more of Tasha's story and lore. I have some I've seen some compatriots in the community excited for this because it expands on more Tasha lore, the Witch Queen in question. But they'd already been running the Witch Queen as a main NPC, quest giver, villain, depending on the story, for a decent while, a few years now. So I don't see how official lore is going to be received at their table. I mean, the players already have a pretty clear idea of who this person is, at least at that table. And I don't. I actually see looking forward to an official product that could counter or contradict your own take on the character being not really the smartest place to put your hopes. Um, but there are dumber places to put it, as we'll get to later down in the video here. Um, Dark Sun is also returning in 2027, now rated M. The first D&D adventure book to do so, or at least do so and also be wrapped in shrink wrap so that no little kids can go see things that give them nightmares. We're promised some new and engaging survival mechanics, but seeing how Wizards has handled those in the past, and with the ad being more blood, gore, um, sort of battle royale, war for the sake of war kind of thing. Um, time will tell on that one. Blood and Power and Edge of Oblivion will be the supplements, along with a alt art on the player's handbook. As neither are an adventure, having them separated like this worries me that some of what players are expecting from Dark Suns will be in one book and not the other, causing sort of a divide on release on whether or not people are going to hold out to buy both books or perhaps just avoid it altogether. D&D Beyond is also releasing a few new features, but some of these are returning features. Uh, the site search is coming back, uh, and the now D&D Beyond will have a /LFG looking for game, where players can find online games posted through Start Playing, local games posted by local game stores and other hobby shops, and other ways of connecting. They have an expanded online tool coming out later. Uh, After this releases, this is already live on their website, the looking for game section. Um, Also, they're making the mobile app more friendly, but that essentially they're promising not to remove the table side experience, but they are bringing a lot of the table side experience into digital tools. So I don't see how that was an honest representation of their product. But it's a product more and more people are turning away from, so we'll see how that goes. A new third-person action-adventure game was also announced, where you play as a warlock whose patron is Tasha. An official gameplay reveal is scheduled for August 25th at a different con. But as far as this is concerned, I can see it going well. I can see it not going well. I think this is more so to ride on the high of Baldur's Gate, but they may be a little bit too late out the gate for that to be a deciding factor. And at the same time, it's looking to be a more of a story game. You'll play through chapters or missions as opposed to more of a uh, more of a exploratory type game. D&D's Seasons of Champions opens with a World of Warcraft setting supplement, complete with maps, minis, and a setting-focused DM screen. Releases staged for this November, and they'll be reincorporating the 13 World of Warcraft classes into a series of subclasses and other options for the existing game, and then introducing 5 new races to D&D, while also including 11 current races for D&D into their supplement that are also in World of Warcraft. It's also D&D's first Universes Beyond, where WotC finds IPs willing to be a part of their gaming engines and partners with them to make theme products. I have opinions on collaborations in general of this nature, but that'll be further down. Um, Further on in the video. D&D then makes its biggest promise, in my opinion. Players won't have to wait to see their favorite official settings reprinted. They partnered with other third-party creators who have been known for making really good third-party 5th edition and 5.5 content. And these people will be producing setting guides for 5.5 for some of D&D's most important settings. Titles include Ravenloft by Ghostfire Games for the third time this decade. Fourth, I think, because there was Van Richten's and Curse of Strahd in 5th edition, and then this will be the second supplement in 5.5. I can't remember what the first one was called. But we also have Eberron by Visionary Production and Design, and a return of the most visited setting, The Forgotten Realms, this time by Kobold Press. Kobold Press did have their own product, but it seemed to have not been doing too hot for them to come over to Wizards, or Wizards just wrote a big enough check for them to not be able to say no. And we're also introduced to a new official live play series, claimed to be the official D&D live play, Dungeon Masters. They're currently on the third season. This group has been playing together for live for years, and now they have the Hasbro seal of approval, whatever that's worth. And finally, a teased, tempted, dangled Season of Rebellion. No real notes, no real answers. As far as an ad, it was just a logo on the backdrop, and one of the cast, one of the show hosts coming out dressed as Darth Vader. The real question is, will it be any good, or a more great idea, poor execution, like the Genesis system for Fantasy Flight? Um, so that's the news, and now the bias. Um, I actually personally care less about icons than the rest. Good to have some experienced creators, but they're more so seem to be riding on the names and not what these creators can do with or without their fame. Uh, it it really felt like, especially for some of them, that they were brought onto the project because their name carries weight and not because of the merits of their previous work. Um, Next, Tasha seems to be dominating the Greyhawk supplements in a similar way Strahd and Ravenloft are synonymous. I'm not really a big fan of a setting being defined by a single character. How boring would DC be if it was all Gotham, for instance? Um, but we'll see how that one goes as it develops. Maybe it's a good adventure, maybe it's a good book, uh, but yeah, we'll have to worm our way into that one as more news drops. I've always heard good things about Dark Sun. People seem to have enjoyed it, seem to have a lot of fun with it. But part of the gritty survival genre I enjoy is the capacity to build back. With the sun dying, that's Dark Sun's probably not going to be for me, other than to steal its survival rules section for different games. D&D Beyond and Warlock are also misses. I prefer physical books or PDFs, things I can skim and read. I don't like the piecemeal uh, microtransaction way Beyond works. Um, and I've had in my own games, I've told players certain things weren't available and only to find them on the character sheets later when using Beyond. Um, and then Warlock, it's not that I don't enjoy female-led games. I actually do. For instance, there was I can't do it really any justice. It's been a while since I played it, so I'll just leave that game lie. Um, but the problem I have with Warlock is the only like chapter adventure game I've enjoyed were the Halo games, and it wasn't really the adventure or the story that drug me in, except for Halo Reach. It was the gameplay and the fact that even though it was a single player story, you could play with your friend. And essentially, they were just another Spartan. And when it went to a cutscene, it was always Six or always Master Chief or whoever else. So essentially, it was always player one in the cutscenes, but players one and two participated through the game. I'm leaning more and more so as I get less and less time to game into multiplayer games. So the fact that it seems like it's not going to have that option is it's just going to be a miss for me. Revisiting settings. I'm all for this, even if it means white flags fly instead of black. Um, the reason the reason Greyhawk, Dark Sun, and even Eberron all don't interest me personally is because there was one Eberron book in 5th edition, and before that I played 4th edition, which when I got introduced to the game, which had its own innate built-in setting, the Ned Surveil. I would actually love to see that ported to 5 or 5.5. Um, but outside of that, uh, outside of those, and even the Forgotten Realms, and a lot of time spent on the Sword Coast, and we're not really allowed to expand beyond there, with the exceptions being Tomb of Annihilation, where we go to Troll, and there are a couple of adventures where we go to different planes of existence, like Descent into Avernus. But as far as like top world main area games, we're missing a lot of even the Forgotten Realms. I would love to see that expanded and not just left in the dark. Uh, but yeah, I think these are going to be a great way to keep their older settings fresh and new, and even get some creators into the shop that want to look back at settings that may have only been seen once or twice. Maybe get a rework Birthright into a 5.5 supplement. It'd be an expensive one. There's a lot in Birthright, but I think it'd be worth the time to invest into those kind of projects. And the elephant in the room, Universes Beyond. If this is an IP you don't have to buy the license for. So because WotC's making these games and they're owned by Hasbro, third-party supplements, very easy to make. You just talk to a different department, probably get a green light. Um, and I don't know too much about parent and split companies, but I don't see a lot of, unless there's internal problems, I don't see a lot of struggle getting those projects into production. But um, the other thing with Universes Beyond is when you don't own the IP. You could do like Star Wars. Hasbro doesn't own Star Wars. Um, but if they wanted to make a spacefaring game, they could do a Starfinder. They could make their own setting, make its own lore, tie it into the lore of Faerun or whatever other universe they want to make the Earth of that world. Or maybe it isn't. It's a whole nother part of the galaxy. Um, and they could like really have a expansive game working out of there. But instead, they're partnering with Star Wars, making I think the third time a TSR or WotC, third time the company making D&D had access to the Star Wars IP, and usually they did good work. Uh, but we'll see how it goes. I'm certainly not a fan of these types of projects, but uh, as far as do they make money? Yes. The question is, would they have made more money than a well thought out and developed new setting? And that probably not. Um, I actually would have really been interested in, for instance, Magic the Gathering, a card game I play on occasion. Um, they did a lot of Marvel superhero sets and secret layers and all these other things. Had they have just come up with a plane that was a futuristic city, did sort of a Legion of Superheroes type futuristic setting, and did a superhero theme where the superheroes were inspired by the Plane Watch, um, or the Oath Watch, or whatever it was. Um, that that would have been really interesting. But no, they dug into Marvel, and now it kind of broke Arena because they had to come up with two sets for every Marvel set because Marvel snapped. So they that has the virtual license. So the MTG Arena had to redesign the art and the some of the mechanics and all the names for the Marvel cards. Um, Last thing on Universes Beyond, there's going to be some things that are created because it's World of Warcraft or because it's Star Wars. Um, that will either need to be independent or be shoehorned into classes they don't necessarily fit. And the biggest problem I see is, especially because of my past experience with players on D&D Beyond or other VTTs, is if the DM isn't very careful about the the specific abilities, spells, content that's banned, you can see things slipping in that end up just being a part of a world that they don't belong in. You could end up seeing abilities for the Jedi end up in on the Sword Coast and all these other things. And for some DMs, okay, that's fun, that's cool, that's fine. But for me personally, that's part of the problem. And also, when we look at the larger timeline of D&D, when Magic started doing this, it was one or two sets a year, and even before that, it was maybe one or two secret layers, and then it was four secret layers. And now, a good 60-70% of new product released by Wizards of the Coast is uh, not set in a Magic the Gathering universe or one of the planes. It's set in TMNT, it's set in Transformers, it's set somewhere else, Warhammer, Lord of the Rings, Marvel. And I think we miss out on a lot of good creative process when we, instead of planning far enough in the future to have these releases on time and and staff enough people to have these releases on time. Instead, we are outsourcing not just the gaming process, like the game design process, but the creative narrative process out to different companies. Um, and it just dilutes what makes D&D D&D. It already has a plethora of really interesting settings. It doesn't really need to outsource to Star Wars, or it doesn't need to outsource to Disney or World of Warcraft, whoever, Ubisoft, whoever owns them. It doesn't need to do that. It has what it needs. It just needs to do it. This has been a review and a little bit of bias at the end there. I look forward to more updates as we learn more about these things, and also reviews in the future of the games that I have run and or played, and then we'll start looking at things I plan to run or play as we run out of the material there. This has been Talking with the Hat Mouse, uh, signing off.